Welcome to Texas Platinum, the last of the real water cooler talk shows on YouTube. I am Trevor, joined by just Matt Myers today. And newsflash, Arch Manning is a human, as is everyone on this Texas team, as is Steve Sarkisian. Texas took I mean, not a nasty L. I mean, losing by only one touchdown isn't horrible, but being held to only one touchdown is something that none of us, and I don't think anyone out there, foresaw coming. Arch Manning has a very poor showing at the office for his first start of the season, first start on the road. And really the team at large. Defense performed overall really well, but we'll get into the specifics of that because I wouldn't rave about the defense either, even though they held Ohio State to 14, which is pretty damn good, especially on the road. Um, but offensively, there are a lot of issues to discuss and things that we may not see as much in the immediate future, but down the road against big time opponents, there's a lot to get fixed up. So, yes, let's go ahead and get started. Matt Mars, kind of share your opening thoughts on the game, where you're at, what you're thinking, what you saw.
I want to ask you a question to start this off before I get into it. Did this game feel more hopeless, less winnable than the playoff game against Ohio State? Or did you feel more like we could win this game? We were more in control physically. How would you compare this year to last year? The feel of it.
It's a great question. Um, I'd say I think it was more hopeless just in the fact that we really weren't showing much life offensively. I know we definitely struggled offensively in the Ohio State game in the playoff, but at the same time, especially in the back half of the game, kind of like this game, I guess, we were answering the call and tying the game up, and we were making plays on offense and on defense. This time around, we held Ohio State in check pretty damn well. I mean, we shut down Jeremiah Smith again. That's pretty ridiculous. Um, and again, we'll dive into this more, but I'll start by saying it. Defensively, we didn't force any turnovers. We didn't get any sacks. And coming into the game, if you told me that, I would have been like, "Oh, we're gonna lose." Like I really didn't see that coming, especially against, Sayan, who's making his first start of his career. I really expected at least one first forced turnover, interception, fumble, at least one sack. I mean, I was really assuming that multiple were coming. All week, I feel like a lot of in the know Texas fans were hearing about how Ohio State really wasn't feeling good about their offensive line and that there were a lot of holes and weaknesses there. And of course, saying, again, we said in the show last week, and we'll say again now, he's a good player. I mean, he's five-star number one, ranked quarterback in the country for his class, so certainly no slouch. But if you told me that he was going to outplay Arch Manning, that also I would say, wow, we're going to lose that game. And I don't see that world is one that sounds like it's in a different dimension and when in reality it just happened. So, yeah, to answer your question, I'd say this time around was more hopeless, even though we really had a chance at the end of the game to tie it up, um, and force overtime, potentially force a three and out for Ohio State and maybe win it on a field goal, even though that seemed pretty unlikely. So in a weird way, it's kind of even. Um, it's just hard to compare for me because the teams look so different. Like both teams were playing at such an elite level in the playoff last year. This time around, it was just kind of sloppy. It wasn't horribly sloppy. Like I said, not a ton of turnovers, but um, I don't think either team felt very confident and proud of the product that they put on the field in week one. So that's my thoughts. How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I think this year, like this past Saturday, felt like Ohio State was by far the more disciplined team, the cleaner team. Of course, Julian Sand played a clean game. They had a great game plan to minimize his impact on the game. Whenever he did throw, only 20 passes, I believe. It was always a safe, quick route to a receiver. No like going downfield through progressions over the middle. None of that. So that was very smart of them because it didn't give us a chance to get a turnover and extend our turnover streak that we'd had gone for like 25 games.
Yeah.
So it was a clean game plan by them. No turnovers. They punched it in the red zone. But I will say I feel like our team from like a physicality standpoint and like just at Jimmy's versus Joe's. Like last year, it felt like, dang, these guys are good. Like when I was watching them, and on the optimism side, I felt like we were the more physically daunting team in a way, at least defensively. I didn't feel outmatched very much. I just felt like we were very handicapped with Arch missing so many plays that Quinn makes last year. And I get Arch was in his first start, and it was just a whole media storm for him. I mean, the game starts, it's the defending national champions about to kick off their season against Texas, and the whole thing's about Arch Manning, a whole like
Yeah.
in- intro. It's
That's
like,
wild.
Arch isn't asking for this, and not that has a huge effect, but really just like that's just been the whole theme of the last 12 months is just Arch, 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 Arch. And then Feinbaum's on SEC Network talking about how Arch is the greatest player of all time. I don't know. I'm guessing he's doing that on purpose to get clicks. It's just clickbait media nowadays. But I
Yeah.
think that has an effect. The quarterback's very mental, especially your first road start against a really good team. And Arch was just not there mentally. I mean, he was missing slants, horrible mechanics that we didn't see any of those issues last year or the year before. So very characteristic of Arch. But I leave encouraged because even with those issues we were in that game to the end, and you can circle so many pivotal moments in that game where it's like, if we didn't have our hands in the face here, we get off the field on third down, and then they don't score that touchdown. If you don't have hands in the face here, we uh we get a safety for holding in the end zone, and then that's the 2 points. That's 9 points right there. So situational football. If we punch it in at the 1 inch line, that's 7 points our way. We just lost all the clutch, opportune moments, and that's been a theme of Sark now. In big games, the question has to be asked: Does Sark press? Does Sark overthink things? Does he lose his identity? I think he was trying to having an identity crisis at least the first half. Um, he was, just trying to just run the ball and then just go under center a lot, which is good. That's what your identity wants to be. But I think he pivoted a little too late. Once he realized that we couldn't do anything offensively because Arch was not quite ready and the receivers weren't getting open that well. I think he should have kind of went back to last year's playbook with more screens, more swing passes, end arounds, just get your players the ball in space. And we were not doing that. But some of the good things I'll say before I pass it back to you, offensive line looked great. They didn't flinch at all. Honestly, I thought they looked better than they did at any point last year against elite teams. Arch had time pretty much every play. I can think of like one or two plays where he was rushed or sacked. Um, Obviously, the last play of the game when Brandon Baker completely has a brain fart and just lets that guy on the edge just run straight to Arch. That one hurt because it cost the game. But overall, I was happy with our run blocking. Our pass pro was good, and Gooseby looked great and healthy. So very encouraged about that. But and defense looks great too. So this team has very high floor as we suspected with that defense, and our O line apparently looks really good. But Arch left a lot to be desired. The receivers, I'm concerned about, and I'll pass it back to you on that. I will say though, Jack Endries looks really good, and I'm very excited about him. He needs to get at least 5 to 10 targets every single game going forward. He's a difference maker. All of his catches were very impressive to me, contested, and strong hands. He showed great IQ on that fourth down play, making that tough catch, trying to reach over the line, even though he wasn't going to make it. Like I was just very impressed with Endries, and he's a big dude, and he was blocking well, so that could be huge for us. But Arch and the receivers are really my biggest worries leaving the game. But a lot of football left to be played. It's a non-conference game, so everything's wide open. But God, it's a sucky feeling right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about Arch more. First play of the game, he throws a pass to an open DeAndre Moore that I was like, the second I saw Moore get open, turn, and Arch aim at him, I'm like, touchdown. I mean, he did have a defender, so he did have to beat someone, but the way that he was positioned and ready to go, and assuming that Arch was going to put it on the money, which he's done, again, at this point we kind of got to throw out. I mean, I wouldn't say we throw out what Arch has done in past games, but he, from what we've seen in spring games, other games that he's played his previous 2 years at Texas. I know he did snaps against Texas Tech his first year. Last year, he started in a few games and then played snaps in other games. He did play against Georgia for a few drives, and no one seems to remember that. So he had faced elite competition for a little bit. And he did struggle there, so that is something. But up to this point, Arch, we really haven't seen Arch struggle and have poor mechanics. Um, we've really seen the complete opposite. Just look at the tape. I mean, he's known for being extremely poised in the pocket, not rushing, taking his time, going through reads. I mean, I know that the hype was overzealous in retrospect, but it was a bit justified if you look at the tape. And I know everyone's going to say, who was the competition? It wasn't Mississippi State, I know isn't a great team, but it is an SEC team. And um, for his first true SEC start, that tape is impressive when you look back at it. And the habits were really good. That's really what I'm getting at here is not so much the competition that he was playing, but just his habits and how he executed. I think regardless of competition, that is something that you see. And he never showed anything like the habits that he had in this Ohio State game where he underthrew the ball a lot. That first pass that I was talking about, he threw it right in the dirt. His mechanics were totally off. His footwork wasn't good. He was side arming throws. He was overthrowing a few balls, rocketing some balls, forcing it too much. That interception, he actually underthrew and put too much air on it. So it was really, I mean, it wasn't like a consistent thing. It was like everything was going wrong and it was a different way every single time. Um, and I just felt bad for him, really, first off, because, you know, the embarrassment of that, I'm sure, is really tangible. And also just that um, like we've said, he didn't ask for the amount of attention that he's gotten. Granted, it was impressive to see two Arch Manning commercials, or maybe it was three within the course of that broadcast. Because I mean, we've seen all the Heisman House commercials or the Dr. Pepper commercials, in the past, and those are pretty normal. But the fact that these were like brands that, like Warby Parker, like I've never seen them endorse, a football player before with their day. It was on a whole nother level, It was like, wow, like this is like new age stuff. To couple that with his really poor performances, um, pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, he was clearly having a very bad day, and it honestly really upset me that Sark wasn't helping him out. I don't feel like pretty early on, he kind of just kept trying to do what he was doing. Um, and like you said, the receivers, I think the secondary for Ohio State did have themselves a day. I think they did an excellent job. But at the same time, and I think a lot of this goes on Sark. You gotta, if that's happening, you need to do something to like help your quarterback out. Either lean on the run game more, and the run game was good, wasn't great, but it was decent. Arch running the ball was, a nice little mix in when he did it every now and again. But I mean, do some type of like just draw it up differently. If no one's getting open, you need to start, I don't, I changing up some of the play calls. And I mean, Sark has this, big bag of, different routes and everything that he could implement with these receivers that he just wasn't. Even just like a jet sweep or, just it was a very vanilla outing for Sark, and coupled with, Arch's struggles, it made for a very stagnant and poor offensive day.
Right. I was surprised there was not much creativity. Like to speak into what you're saying, Trevor, like there was not much misdirection, no like people in motion then getting targeted out of motion. It was very vanilla, very bland, and it's almost like a pride thing with Sarkisian. I think after last year, he really wanted to have this identity of this team to be we're tough, we're going to run the ball, we're going to be a pro style offense, big elaborate drop backs, which is good in theory. Like I'm cool with that, but you got to win the game. I mean, when a game's that winnable, you got to adjust on the fly. And I agree, they should have done more. And Sark, honestly, his rise to success at Alabama was done through like all of his just fun,
Yeah.
crazy offensive schemes that were just unconventional at the time. It wasn't running the ball just between the tackles 30 times a game. And honestly, like this is I'm kind of I guess is irony. Like 'cause I think running we should have stuck with the with the run game a little bit longer. So I guess I'm contradicting myself, but I do think down the stretch we should have definitely opened it up a little bit more than we did, and we started to. I mean, Arch started cooking in the second half. I mean, we put like 250 yards up in the second half, which is good, which is very good. But it was just I wish Sark had a better, more collected game plan going into it. It seemed very just Sark was just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it would stick. And he knows better than I would. But I just felt like we had no, like a major identity crisis this game. And that's the best way I can describe it. But I'm not out on Sark as a play caller. I think people were schemed up a lot of the time. I mean, there were a lot of plays I can think back to. That, the fourth and goal when we threw it to Livingstone, Wingo was open at the sticks on that slant route, and that was the
Yeah.
first read, as what Sark said. And Arch, he threw a good ball to Livingstone, but that's such a lower percentage ball. You got to get the ball like on time in that window on your first read. That's a little slant route, move the chains, probably score right there on that play. And then I think if we can go on the other crossing route when it was 4th and 5, game on the line, and that was drawn up perfectly. And there's a couple other plays I can think of where Jack Endries or Spencer Shannon was wide open, and Arch takes a more difficult throw downfield, and it's either a turnover or just a bad play, and then you're behind the stick. So all those things compounded, and despite it all, we were still in that game. As much as we're hating on Arch, I thought he did show some good pocket presence, even though he got happy feet when he was throwing the ball. But I thought he navigated the pocket pretty well for the most part. He used his legs a little bit, which was good, but I'd like to see more of that. But yeah, he was just never comfortable. He was never comfortable at all. And give credit to Ohio State; they're a good defense. And they were well coached with Matt Patricia. They had a great game plan. They dropped a lot of people back all day long. And once they got that lead, that's really became the problem because we started pressing. We were playing from behind. And I think Sark was less excited to run the ball when you're in that deficit. And that kind of just puts you off schedule and you're kind of just, you're reaching now. You're trying to reach back into the game. And I just wonder if we would have punched that. The second half starts, we get that big stop right off the gate. We drive down the field looking good, just moving the ball around at will. And we get down to the 4th and 1. If we would have punched that in, tie it up 7-7, start of the second half still, I wonder how that game would have played out. So many little moments like that. It just sucks. But I'll give Ohio State credit. They were the better team, but a lot of things to be excited about. I keep saying that. Grayson Littleton. I want to give him a shout out real fast. The true
Yeah.
freshman. We kept hearing good things about him all fall camp, and dude, he looked fantastic. I think he was the highest graded true freshman in the country, Pro Football Focus, and I mean he played phenomenal. And it's only like 30 snaps, but he had a couple of great clutch pass breakups against Carnell Tate or Brandon Innes or Jeremiah Smith. So he's the real deal. Next star of DBU, it looks like. So very excited for him. And I thought our D line played well, really, the whole defense. The new guys, defensive tackles, Murad Watson, Cole Brevard had a huge stop on fourth down. He just stopped the whole, he created a wall essentially, didn't let the running back get through. Hero Canoe played a lot, Travis Shaw. So I like how we were rotating bodies and how there was really no drop off. Alex January looks fantastic, I think. Um, so I think our D's going to be great. Burke played well. LaFau played good. Our stars were kind of quiet, but I'm not going
Yeah.
to complain about that. Anthony Hill was very quiet. I thought Simmons did some good things, but I think the nature of the game wasn't going to allow him to get a bunch of sacks because Ohio State was very smart about it. Um, but I'm not going to complain about those guys because the defense did their job, and so did the special team. Shout out our new punter, Jack Bowmeister, whatever his name is. Man, he was pinning them deep, and we had complimentary football going, defensive, defense, and special teams. We just weren't doing it on offense. So um, a lot of things have improved from last year, specifically special teams, and honestly, I like our D tackle depth a little bit more this year, uh, based on one game. We'll see, but a lot of things to be excited about. So it wasn't a horrible, doomsday scenario, but it was tough to watch.
Let me ask you a few questions since you started with a question for me. Um, did you agree with Sark's various fourth down play calls are going for it, like fourth and goal, obviously. And then I think the opening drive of the game, he went for it on fourth down and didn't quite get. I mean, there were multiple opportunities where they went for it on fourth down. Um, what do you
Yeah.
think of all that?
The first one on the first drive or whatever, I told him to punt it, pin him deep, play defense. That's what I wanted to do. We got it, but barely. The one when we were at the 1 inch line, the whole time we got to the red zone, I was like, Sark, don't you dare go for it on fourth down. Take the points. It's a 7-3 ball game with 2 quarters left. Take the points. But once he can get to like 4th and 1 at the 1 inch line, it becomes like you can't kick a field goal from the 1 inch line in a touchdown game. Like it's a
Yeah.
principle thing. So I like the idea of going for it when it's that close because if you don't get it, you got them backed up at the 1 inch line too, and you can get a safety, which we almost got. But what I hated was he went fast and quarterback sneak. I like the idea of it if you have the right leverage. But like as soon as ours lined up, it was obvious we're doing quarterback sneak, and it was obvious they had the defense for it. They had like 6 dudes standing over the ball ready for it, and we didn't have any leverage behind. It was like a soft tush push. There was no fullback, no big bodies behind ours to get him in. It was just Baxter who came in way late for the tush push. It was just a lousy attempt at a quarterback sneak. So I wish they would have been more creative with it after seeing that leverage check out of it. Um, but yeah, and then the other one to Livingstone, you have to go for that. And just based on the flow of the game, you were in the hole by like you're down by 2 scores at that point. Um, so yeah, that was just you had to. But I wish he wouldn't go for it as much as he did. I wish he would take the points and play defense and play field position a little bit more, just generally speaking. But as the game wears on and you're playing from behind, you have to kind of get a little desperate, and then that's plays into Ohio State's hands, and that's how they won the game.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty in agreement with you, and I think most Texas fans are. I don't mind him going for it on occasion. Probably first drive, I didn't really agree with him going for it. Um, in particular. Or maybe it was the second drive, but pretty early in the game. So a few of the times I didn't like it. I was for it on fourth and goal. I was worried because, that is very reminiscent of Ohio State game from the Cotton Bowl where, we were pretty close and
Yeah.
not quite hammering it in. I would have liked a bit more variation on the play calls or doing something a bit more creative. Um, because I don't know, it was just very obvious that we were doing inside run. And if you have the personnel for it, great. But especially right now, this is the big thing and kind of a bit concerning to me about Sark's play calls is not saying that his play calls are poor or anything like that, but I don't know. I just and again, first game of the season, so maybe this is going to change, but I think he's still figuring out his personnel, you know? Like, well, I mean, the Arch package worked, a good number of times last season. But even then, there were a few Arch play calls where either he was going outside or it was like a fake where it like snapped between his legs and went to the running back and the running back went outside. Like there was a lot more to it. And this time around, it was just up the middle behind between the center and the guard. And not that our offensive line is bad there at those positions, but um, I wouldn't call it a strength, certainly, especially at the guard positions. I mean, DJ Campbell's obviously a veteran, but on the other side, you're rotating a guy, between Stroh and um, I'm blanking on his name.
Nito.
Yeah, Neto. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know, just a lot of inexperience at that area. So the fact that, that's what we're targeting and leaning on that area, I don't think is very smart. So I just would have liked a lot more creativity with it. And again, I don't have an issue with running Arch in that situation, but at least go somewhat to the outside or I don't know. It just seemed a bit too obvious, like you said. And um I don't know. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating that this continues to happen year after year after year, I feel like, with Sark whenever it comes down to red zone stuff. And I don't understand why we can't seem to execute very well down there. And I just feel like we always get bullied at the goal line. We do a good job defensively at the goal line, but offensively, we just can't ever seem to get the right amount of push or, you know, and like you said, our offensive line, I feel like did better than a lot of us expected that they would in this game. But um, when it came to like short yardage situations, we just couldn't get push. Um, and I don't know how to fix that because that that should just come. You know what I mean? Uh, I don't know. I don't know if that's a, Kyle Flood concern or what it is, but it just feels bizarre to me.
Yeah. No, it's concerning, dude, and we're gonna get dark here because these are kind of becoming like is this is it's a Sark issue clearly at this point, but
Yeah.
he's also like he's like swinging like 0 for 10 almost on these big games now, 0 for 5. Two losses to Ohio State, two losses to Georgia, lose to Washington. So you start to worry about him in a big game.
Yeah.
And, the common denominator in all those big games is the red zone play.
Well, I wouldn't call it big game. I would say top opponent because he
Yeah,
does get up for big
comparable talent,
games.
comparable talent. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Michigan game was a big game, but Texas had the talent edge or A&M last season or I mean there are a lot he's coached in a lot of like high stakes games where the team did well and won. But yeah, look, to your point, it's yeah, against equivalent talent levels. Yeah,
Where
he's
coaching
getting
matters the most,
yeah.
he's continuing to strike out. As far as the red zone woes, I think a lot of it is, I mean, Trey Wisner, he's a good running back. Baxter's a great leader, but like we don't have a running back that can just push a pile forward. We don't have a
Yeah.
big old bruiser. We don't have a Roshan Johnson. We haven't had one since Roshan.
Yep.
Uh, Brooks couldn't really do it either, and he was a great running back. I think the lack of that, maybe Jarrett Gibson can turn into that for us, but
Yeah, you would think, right?
be nice to have that guy because they have it at Ohio State. CJ Donaldson, we would have him wrapped up, but he was so just strong, like that he would fight for an extra 3 yards every time. He would fight through three guys to get an extra. He'd fall forward. We don't have that ability with Weisner, and I love Weisner. He's a great running back. Secondly, let's continue to be doomsday, dark, sad scenario. Is our wide receiver room is very concerning to me. And I'm very concerned because not only our wide receiver room, we have Ryan Niblett returning punts. And Ryan
Right.
Niblett's a
That was weird.
great success story. He's a guy that stuck around and he was decently ranked out of high school, but he's kind of like just a jag. And at the University of Texas, why do we not have just a dynamic? Xavier Worthy punt returner,
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, Matthew Golden receiver. I don't see that. I mean, I think Wingo and Moore are good, very good, but they were the fillers for Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond. And AD Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington was the filler there. We don't have that level of a
Yep.
receiver in that room. When you're relying on Livingstone, who played well, as your number three guy, and you don't have anyone behind him, I think that's concerning. I think that's a glaring hole by Sark to not, go out and get a wide receiver one in the portal when we could have gotten a Singleton. We could have paid up for Decorian Moore. The good news is we have Emmett Mosley, who now means a lot more than I thought he would. We need him to get healthy because he's the transfer from Stanford who Sark's very high on. We need him to get back ASAP because we need a third and fourth receiver that are going to be players for us. But we have those three five-star freshmen. We need them to grow up fast.
Yeah.
Worthy was great as a freshman. Ryan Williams was great like you can Jeremiah Smith. You can make a huge impact at receivers as a freshman. And Dalen McCutcheon had a reception, but I want to see Kalik Lockett or French or someone step up and become a playmaker for us by the time we're playing at Florida because this is the worst receiver room I've seen. It's been one game. I'm maybe overreacting. Um, the least top end talent I've seen in a receiver room since Sark really got here. With when he got Xavier Worthy here, I think that was that year one or year I don't know, but
Year one.
yeah. So this might be one of the least top end talent I've seen. So I think that hurts Arch too, and hurts our ability to be a balanced offense where you're able to go vertical or take a little slant route to the house. So I'm worried about that. I'm worried about our running back, the lack of the ability to have a big bruiser to push for a couple yards and get over that fourth and goal. And I'm worried about Sark. He's struggling in big games. Clearly, it's a mental thing. And then our red zone woes continue. So those are the big concerns I'm leaving with. But all in all, I do continue to believe this team will improve. I think these cupcakes come at a great time for us. Three straight games we should win in a big way, and then you got Florida, and I think the optics of everything are maybe better now because the media was just, of course, crowning us already with Arch Manning as, the national champions, Heisman, the greatest team ever. And now everyone's trashing us. Arch is a bust. So I think maybe that new dynamic is probably good for our team and allows us just to kind of go forward under the radar a little bit more with a little less expectations. And I just think it's all about just getting that offense up to speed, defense continue to do what they do, get Arch more and more comfortable going into Florida. But yeah, those are the main issues. But there's more good than bad on this team, and I still think they can be an SEC championship playoff team, national championship team maybe, but some things need to be fixed. So
So, kind of final thoughts for myself on the Ohio State game. I'm much in agreement with you, Myers. I think that our goals still are ahead of us for what we saw on the season. Um, I think we always got to pump the brakes, when it comes to week one games. And again, like this is a bit of a unique situation where it's not uncommon for Texas to play a big time opponent within the first 3 weeks of the season, but week one right out of the gate, that's pretty rare. And especially a top three team in the country, like a one versus three matchup, like this game was talked up as, a big deal and a historic matchup for that reason. And you know, first game is always going to be a bit messy and not perfect, and people are figuring things out. Ohio State can certainly say the same thing, but um, I think it's way too early to have definitive thoughts about this team at the moment. And I agree, though. I mean, there. With all that said, I do see a lot of issues that I did not see as much a week ago, um, leading into this game that are bothering me. I agree about the receiver room. Um, it bugs me that we don't really have a burner to take the top off, but that might exist in the depth chart with these freshmen, like you said, like a Jamie French or um, uh, Kalik Lockett, someone that has some speed and twitch. Uh, you know, I I got to be honest, I was pretty disappointed in Wingo's performance, but I know that he's capable of bouncing back. And maybe just this time around, I mean, much like Arch, he hasn't played a ton of very meaningful snaps and started in a game on the road that I'm aware of from like a starter perspective. So he's not used to being the guy. Um, and not that he can't get to that point, but it might take him a little bit to get there. And this, the Ohio State game may have not been the right time for him just yet. And maybe he needs to work his way up. But that transitions us into the the game this week. So we got three non-con easy games to kind of ride the wave here, and I think right at the perfect time. Um, but really just kind of opportunity for our players on our team to gel, get back at home, uh, build up confidence. I think everyone really needs it right now, so it couldn't come at a better time. Um, and really kind of what I'm hoping to see more than anything, more than just like points and plays and, you know, the playbook getting extended a little further maybe and test out our depth and all that stuff. I really just want to see our star players feel themselves again. Because the Ohio State game, like you said, we played well defensively. Offensively, there were struggles, obviously. But even defensively, I want to see our star players shine and get their confidence and mojo back because I'm sure it's down a bit. So, I want to see, Colin Simmons really get a few sacks and come screaming off the edge. I want to see Anthony Hill, make some big time plays and hard hitting tackles and maybe rush the passer as well. Um, you know, I want to see some interceptions from our secondary. I want to see Michael Taft with a big hit. He had a very quiet game today. Ohio State game too. Really all of our preseason All-Americans really didn't even really hear their names, which was a bit weird. Um, it's a bit weird did he not hear Jelani McDonald's name really mentioned either. I mean, just a lot of guys. It was a again, defensively, it was a good performance, but it was almost like it was just very weird that it was almost like a no-name defense, like, like it wasn't like they were calling out, like, it wasn't like, our notable star, which isn't a bad thing. Like, in a weird way, that's a great thing because it's like, okay, like we got some depth and we don't need our stars to be stars to still be good. So it's a reassuring thing in a way, but at the same time, it's like, well, I do kind of hope that, our star players are performing because that might have worked against Ohio State, but I don't know. Maybe that won't work again in the future because Ohio State, I'm sure themselves are saying that their offense wasn't nearly as prolific as they want to be. I mean, they scored 14 and you know, didn't do anything overly impressive offensively. So I know that they're certainly looking to grow too. Um, so yeah. And then offensively, of course, want to see Arch get back in rhythm, look more like his self from last season. Uh, and just get his form back, get his mojo back. I think him being in a home crowd is maybe going to help him out a bit, get him feeling himself a bit more celebrating. You didn't see a lot of that in this game. And granted, there wasn't many opportunities, but our Arch is known for being a bit of I wouldn't say he's like a taunter or anything like that. He's not like a Baker Mayfield, but he does like to celebrate with his teammates and egg on the crowd a little bit. And he's got that moxie to him that is different than his uncle's, but something that is a part of his game. And uh, I was hoping to see a bit more of because I mean even Quinn would kind of show that in big games. So the fact that obviously Arch was struggling and he wasn't going to be showing off when he's down or doing horrible, but at the same time, body language means the world for a quarterback. So I want to see that good body language again, and yeah, and just really receiver depth. Want to see what cream is gonna rise to the top because I think Sark even said in his press conference on today or as of the recording, we're recording on a Monday night, so on Monday, I think he even kind of hinted at like, hey, like it's open. Like I don't love this performance. Like, hey, freshman, like, get out there, show something because this depth chart isn't fully established yet. So um yeah, I mean, I know it's three cupcakes and it's gonna be probably not the most entertaining watch for the next 3 weeks until we play Florida, but um it will be good to see. It'll be good to see things get figured out a bit more before our next true road test.
I thought you made two really, really good points there, Trevor. First one, the defense, I think that's a great thing. Like you said, it's probably a good thing. We had guys like Liango Lafau, Gilbo, Muhammad, and the new D lineman making huge plays and contributing. We know what we have in Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Michael Taft. They're going to be just fine. I'd like to see him get hot though, like as you said, over the next couple weeks. And Colin Simmons, he's known to talk, so I would hope that he has the numbers to back it up. Although numbers can lie a lot, especially when you're a lineman, a defensive lineman. But
Hmm.
see him have some splash plays, just to back up the trash talk a little bit. And then Arch Manning, I think you're spot on. He needs to he when I saw him walk out for the first drive, it's like he's walking so slow, head down. He's doing the thing, getting his shoulder loose.
Yeah.
Like I want to see Arch move around with urgency. I want to see him run and like just have some energy about him. He a lot of the time, and Quinn did this too. They like seem like emo, and not all the time, but like they seem like just like depressed out there, like their dog just died or something. It's like, dude, I get it. It's a super high stress situation, but at the end of the day, he says it himself. It's football. It's a kids game you're playing. So have fun, move around, jump around a little bit. And I get it, you're losing, you're in a hostile environment, but I want to see more of that over the next couple of weeks and as we go into the swamp. No matter what we do over the next 3 weeks, no matter what Arch does, 10 touchdowns, zero picks, um, no one's gonna respect him until the swamp. And I kind of like that dynamic now. Now Florida's a must win. Florida and
Yeah.
OU are must wins. You can't lose one of those games with OU with not OU with Georgia in the back half and A&M and then those road trips. Like you have to. There's not much room for error anymore, which in a weird way is kind of good for our focus now. I'm excited to see how we operate in that wounded animal mode now, the revenge mode, I guess. And if you get past those two games, you'll be okay. But this whole runway up to that needs to be taken advantage of. I want to see our offense. I want to see Arch playing well into the second halves of the next three games. I don't want him to be pulled immediately. I want reps for him in
Yeah.
the first offense, him and the receivers. I want to see Sark find an identity over the next three games because this is a whole new team, a whole new offense, new personnel. So it's going to look different, like we talked about with Quinn. But like I said, during Ohio State, there was no identity. It was kind of just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. I want him to find that identity and then just keep repping it until it's becomes just second nature for us. And it's going to take time, but I want to have a good sense of what we are going into Florida. But San Jose State, they're not that good, but they're an air raid team. They can throw it around. But it's more about us. I'm not going to sit here and break down San Jose State. But overall, I think Arch is going to be just fine. I mean, we know what Arch Manning is. It was sad to see him flinch like that in such a big moment, but it happens. It happens. Not everyone. Burrow's first game wasn't great. A lot of these great players that on their first road starts and
Yeah.
it's like that have similar things. Vince Young's was like that. Colts was like that. So not to excuse it because it took that horrible performance to get Ohio State the win with just average QB play. I think we win that game probably. But I think Arch will bounce back. His offense will bounce back. I think everything's fixable except for the receiver room potentially, which I'm kind of worried about. But even so, I think there's enough on this team to still be really, really good. So we'll see. It's just 0-1 just doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. So I'm
No.
ready for this coming Saturday. Get back in the winning column and hopefully OU and A&M drop some games too because man, they've been waiting so long to see us lose to someone and they're letting us hear. Everyone's letting us hear it on Twitter and everything. So you just got to sit here and take it, I guess. And I'm sure, hopefully, our team bounces back and we'll be in contention at the end.
Yeah, the Arch hate honestly kind of surprises me because I feel like no one really hated on the Mannings, like Peyton and Eli. Like I mean, I'm sure people didn't like them, but I feel like people didn't outwardly hate the Mannings. So it is interesting seeing the amount of hate that he's get. And I get it, quarterback at the University of Texas, and he's talked up about and like he certainly has a massive target, and he's a very easy target to to target. But I mean, he isn't like a asshole either. Like so he could be a way easier target. But I mean, he's a pretty likable guy. So I was a bit like, whoa, But I think that's the Texas brand more than a Manning brand. And I think if he was out of Georgia, people wouldn't really care if he didn't look good. I mean, maybe they kind of make fun of it, but I do think that it's that Texas brand that's not doing him a good service in terms of his being made fun of. But there was one more thought going back to the Ohio State game. Maybe let's end the video with this because I don't really have much to say additionally about San Jose State. I think we covered that, and that's grounded and good. And all your points, Myers, were very good as you finished up there. Does it bother you? Again, we'll end with this. Um, Sark's post game press conference. I don't know if he fully said it directly. I don't think he did, but he definitely kind of hinted at the fact where someone asked him about him now being 0-1 essentially, and him saying like, "Hey, in this modern era of college football, like being undefeated, I don't." I think he said something along the lines of like, "I don't expect to see that again," or like, "I don't expect that anymore." Um, does it concern you? Did you kind of interpret that like myself, where I'm like, I mean, they weren't not trying to win the game, but like, I don't know, that bugs me as a fan, where it's like, oh, we can afford to lose a game. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, you held Ohio State at home to 14 points. I would think that you would be doing everything in your power to secure this win because I don't know. To me, that reflects back to the play calling and how vanilla it was, and you know what I mean, like the urgency and like really doing everything in your power to secure the win. I don't think they went to their well. I could say for certain they did not go to their full capacity to try to win this game in a game that was winnable. I think. Um, what do you think about all that? Because that really kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. And again, I get it. Like I know that's not the goal to go undefeated, but um, I don't know. That just feels like a false sense of security to me, where it's like, no, dude, like you should really be trying to win every game because if you do slip up one more time, you're probably out of the playoff.
Yeah, the comment itself, I don't have a major issue with because he's correct. I mean,
Right. I mean, he
there's
is
only
correct, but
only one undefeated team last year, so he's right. But the principle of it, I hear where you're coming from. What kind of speaking to what you're saying, I do think he was a lot more lax, not upset or distraught in that post game. In years past, when you lose games, he seems like a lot more like just angry and just
yeah,
short and
irritable.
snarky. He seemed very just chill, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's like he knows he has a really good team, and like he knows that it's still all out there. I mean, it's SEC auto bids, like it's a whole different ball game. So he's right, but I did notice that, Trevor. I did notice how he didn't seem like he was fully, emotionally invested after the game. Like he's maybe looking ahead. Maybe that's good. Maybe he wants to just flush it and worry about the real season, which is the SEC season, I guess, and getting into the playoff that way. But yeah, I did notice that. I think the comment itself is fine. But yeah, there's no room for error now, so everything matters. And I hope Sark understands. Like we don't have any room for error. So now it's you got to beat Florida, you got to beat OU, you got to take care of business in Lexington and Starkville, You got to beat Vanderbilt at home, and then you got to win in Athens. I mean, you could maybe take one SEC loss. You definitely could. You can get in at 10-2,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be. You don't want to take. If you take a loss, you want to be late. I don't even know honestly. 11
You
and
don't
one.
want it, period.
Yeah, just let's go 11 and one. 10-2, you're probably in as well, but I just
Maybe
worry.
late. Maybe late. Maybe a loss to A&M, but obviously we don't want that at all. But at that point, it'd probably be like we have it locked in and we're good to go. But
I'm just envisioning where, we are improved, we're good, but we catch Florida in a night game in the swamp, and
right.
Florida's healthy, and it's a hornet's nest in there.
Yep.
And we play good, but Florida plays a little bit better, some lagway magic, and all of a sudden we're 3-2 going into Red River, and golly, and you probably win in Red River. Like I'm not worried about that game as much. But God, you still got Georgia, you still got A&M in a rivalry game, so it's just very important to get through October. I think with no losses, you want to be in the back half at 8-1, 9-1. Then you can kind of not chill, but feel confident that you're going to be in the picture for a national championship at the end. Because Sark, that's the first thing he said, right? Like this comment that you're talking about, he mentioned like national champions are not going to be undefeated anymore. So I'm thinking he still believes this is a national championship team. Nothing
Yeah.
changed for me in that regard. I think we have a little bit less weapons than we have, but everything else looks really good. And I think Archer's going to be very good, hopefully sooner than later. But I think the ceiling's still there. So we just got to find a way to just get through this month, improve, and then get through the swamp and get through Red River unscathed.
Yeah. I mean, that is a great point. It is a matter of how you look at that comment. You could look at it different ways. You
Yeah.
could look at it as like like that's a bit of a loser mentality, or like you said, more of like a confidence, like, yeah, we're 0-1 right now, but our goals are still well ahead of us. So yeah,
Yeah, let's do it, man. It's gonna be a long time till Florida because no matter what happens these next couple of games, no one's gonna care. Honestly, Longhorn
right.
fans don't care too much. But I just want to see offense improve, Arch get comfortable, and stay healthy. We stayed healthy against Ohio State, so that's a win, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess last thing I do want to see, and originally in my head, I'm like, it doesn't matter that much, but honestly, it kind of does. I want to see us put up some mad points because we haven't done that in forever. I mean, Clemson game, maybe you would consider that like offensively we were really clicking, but I'm talking well into last season. Like our offense, like if you look at it, like our offense really hasn't been prolific. I'd have to look. Do you recall the last time that we really put up a lot of points last season? Or
That's a
was the
great
whole
that's a great
season
point.
plagued with just 20-point games? I'd
Yeah,
love to get that fixed. I'm gonna look it up on the fly.
that's a great point because A&M was low scoring, Kentucky was like 30 points
Dude, we
max.
only put up 20 against Arkansas.
Yeah, our offense wasn't that good.
Florida game we put up mad points. And that was when Bond was healthy and everyone was really healthy and running at that point. But even like Vanderbilt, we put up 27. Georgia, of course, was low scoring. Oklahoma was 34. That was decent. Mississippi State 35. And then you go into non-conference games. So I mean, last season was just not a very high scoring season, period. But that Florida game is kind of the outlier. But really every game after that, Kentucky 31, that's not bad. But yeah, Arkansas 20, Vanderbilt 27, A&M 17, Georgia, 15 that first time, 19 the second time.
Yeah.
Arizona State, I guess 30, 39, but
That was overtime,
that
though.
was
No, I
overtime,
think you're
right?
making a great point, Trevor. I think we should put up a lot of points. I think the goal should be to drop 70 in one of these games, just to build that confidence and feel
Right.
like the psychology of sports that you have a good offense and you can put up points at will. I think that's important. I think especially for us, we seem so mentally fragile in the red zone. Sark seems mentally fragile in the red zone. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that should be a goal. Like let's drop 70 in one of these next three games and try to put up no less than than 50 every game until Florida and just build up some momentum
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah. For the team and for Sark too, I think that would be huge. Just to get in that flow of putting up points because it's been a long time since we've really done that.
All gas, no brakes. I mean, come on, Steven.
I want to say that saying's retired at this point. I mean, his whole philosophy's changed. So then again, maybe Sark just isn't about that anymore, but that just seems weird to me. But I mean, I don't know, based on how he's been calling games last season, I think he's just becoming a very which is so weird because again, that's not what Sark was known for. That's not what he was hired for, but he just seems like a very balanced, like he's all about just like winning. He's not about blowing people out. You know what I mean? Or at least that's how he's striking me these days is it's like lean on a really good defense and offensively put up enough to get by. Um, Very Tom Herman, which I don't like thinking about that. So
But we'll see, man. We'll see. I believe in Sark. I believe in Sark.
yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching, making it through this one. I know it's probably a bit of a painful one, and this week definitely isn't as fun and rosy as it was a week ago. So thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, all those good things. Like I said, we're gonna continue to make videos throughout the season, and thanks for tuning in whenever we do. And we'll catch y'all on the next one. Hopefully, Texas gets some mojo back this week. So horns up, y'all take care.